So I want to say this.
Yes.
It's obvious. It's obvious that you love your job, that you love what you do. That's obvious. I mean, you've gone viral, all right, on videos just because it is extremely obvious that you love what you do.
Hi, this is Joe Cortez. You're watching ShowBizz, The Adult.
Oh, this is Bernard Hopkins, ShowBizz, The Adult. I'm out.
What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz, The Adult. All right, man, look at who we have right here. We have who I say is the best referee in the game. Hold on, first of all, you got to understand.
Don't ask him to click on, though.
Listen, we laughed for like 20 minutes before we even started this.
Don't ask him to click on.
All right, listen. Who I see as the best referee in the game, and you know I can see with these. All right. My man and yours, Steve Willis. What's going on, brother?
How you doing?
Man, I'm
trying
doing
to recover.
Great. I'm happy that you're on the show. Yeah, I invited you to the platform and you showed up. It took a while. But you did.
Yeah, I put my teeth in for this.
All right. Listen, you did. You got some beautiful teeth right now. You did. Okay. Okay.
After that Keith Thurman, that Keith Thurman fight, man, I said, man, you got to put some choppers in your mouth, man. Jeez.
Listen, Steve, can we please?
I know y'all talk about me. I
do. I'm man enough to say that I do. But
look at this fool's teeth.
Steve.
Lord.
Steve.
Yeah, okay, come on. Let's try it. Let's try. Let's give it a shot.
It's not about where you were, it's where you at, man. All right, okay. So here we go. So I want to say this.
Yes.
It's obvious that you love your job, that you love what you do. That's obvious. I mean, you've gone viral, all right, on videos just because it is extremely obvious that you love what you do. But I have to ask you questions about a question in regards to your reactions and how you react to certain things that happens in the ring. Are that like your organic, true, authentic reactions to what's going on in the ring? Or because I know you have a...
It wasn't until I found out about it.
So you're saying you didn't even realize what you were doing in there till you...
No, it wasn't until my sister called me.
Really?
One night after the Peter Quinlan fight. No, was it Peter Quinlan or was it the Rosado? They all get confused. They all get meshed up to me. But she left me a message. And she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what? She said, you've got to be an idiot at all times. Like, at all times. So I'm like, what are you talking? She says, just go look at yourself. And I think it was the Rosado Lemieux fight.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, I had never experienced 20,000 people pop.
Yeah.
And it's real easy if you're not used to the environment to get caught up.
That's right.
And I got caught up for about 15 seconds,
Right.
And when I saw it, I started puking. I just was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God.
Said, look at me.
Oh, my Lord. And it blew up. And I got sicker, and I got sicker. And then it happened again, I think, in the Quinlan fight or whenever. And it just started being a thing. And I didn't want it to catch on and people think that's what I was about.
Right.
Because, there were people on Twitter that were, there were people in social media who were like, oh, he's cutting faces because he knows he's a comedian. He knows. And I'm like, wait a minute, you people not using any logic. You think I'm sitting here thinking, hey, dance face. Hey, right. No. In the middle of an exchange. It's only when it's like on, when it's like I can't, it is what it is.
So it is authentic, and even now you're kind of you
I got
trying
holes
to
in my
turn
lip
it
from
down.
biting my lip.
Right, because you're trying to turn it down.
I'm tone it down so hard, and I'll just bite. I'll just grip on, and but what happens inadvertently, the eyes fall out of my head.
Come on, man. Hold on,
truth.
I gotta hit the bell. You know.
It's either that or you take a dump on yourself.
Now I call you my eye brother. So when you say the eyes,
it's a long way from Jack Reach. No. Jack, if you're listening, a long way from Jack Reach.
All right. So look, I do want to ask you this because
let's get to the point.
Let's get to the point. How long have you been an official for boxing?
In boxing.
In boxing.
In boxing, I'm climbing into 20 years. Wow. I've been officiating sports since I realized you're never going to make the team. No,
come on, man.
It's true. We tell the truth.
You've been doing boxing for 20 years. Boxing for 20 years.
I'm going into 20 years. Yeah.
Wow. So
if you can combine the amateurs and the pros. See, I paid my dues in the amateurs. I spent at least 8 years in the amateurs. I did everything in the amateurs. That's why transitioning into the professional game wasn't a hard curve. Yeah. You have to be prepared. And like people say, why do they have official referees that are so old? Because you need a little wisdom.
Mm-hmm. And respect.
Respect, yes. But when you're 22 years old, what are you going to know about factoring a lot of different things?
Yeah.
Taking things into consideration. Saying to yourself, recognizing when someone's going, he's not going to quit, but he wants out.
Right. See, you haven't seen that before. You need experience to see that, to know that, to say, hey, look, I'm going to save his life, even when he's not going to save himself. But he is thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Someone needs to stop this.
Well, look at it this way. When you look at a world-class athlete with an undefeated record or a winning record, who's got the balls, who has the attitude, who has everything, and he comes out in the 6th round and he's got that look on his face like, right. You gotta see that.
Right.
You gotta take into consideration where he's like, okay, I guess it's an ass whipping tonight.
Right.
Because there are guys that'll do it right in front of you. They'll just like, okay, it's, and then there are the guys who are, they're shocked. So there's different things going on. There are different things going on that you got to take into consideration when you do anything. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm happy. I really appreciate this because I really called you on this platform to educate the fans. The boxing fan or the casual fan or whoever watching the sport, they like to be the referee from their living room. And they like to say, hey, man, this is a foul. This is cheating. What you doing? Get in there. Get out the way. All those things. And I think if we can watch it with a more educated eye, we can understand what's going on out there. For example, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. I think this just a good example of a fight where so many people are calling so many different things. And I have someone like you that can help break these things down. Let's just take, for example, the jab from Tyson Fury, the flicking jab. You've seen many fighters do that. Muhammad Ali, you've seen Larry Holmes do that. But now there's a lot of fans that's looking at that and say, hey, that's illegal. He's hitting him with the back of his hand. Can you let us all know if it is illegal or if it's legal, and how can you do it legally if it is?
Well, I tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've learned over time when you listen to fans, you can tell them exactly what it is. You can show them. They don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it.
You have a lot of fans if you know, as I post videos on my Instagram.
Yes.
And they post old videos, old fights. Because I recognize there is a segment of boxing fan that's only 25 years old, only 21 years old.
And it's new to them. They're seeing this stuff for the first time.
There's stuff they have no clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
So when all these controversies come up, and I try to help, and eventually I stop because I realize you got people with their it's a whole different ballgame today with social media and everything. And what happens is you got a lot of people. You are the exception. That's why I talk to you.
Thank you.
You will have people who it's not you see it's across the line in culture, who would rather get their information from someone that makes them feel good than actually going to tell them the freaking truth.
Instead of knowing the truth. Instead of knowing the truth, they just want to feel good. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And, you know, my only comment on the Fury thing and all that is all these things that were said, I'm like, well, why can't you turn on the fight and show me this raw?
Right.
If it's to the extent that you say that everyone said, you should be able to say right here, in this round, look at that.
Yeah.
You should be able to see it. Just think about it. Just think about it. I'm not even going to touch on any of the particular allegations. That's not my place.
Okay.
All I'm going to say to you is, how come you didn't see it during the fight?
Right.
You're telling me you're watching the fight. It's the same thing like judging. You're telling me you're watching the fight, but your scorecard tells me you're not watching the fight.
Right. Right.
Because you should be when they bring up all the other past situations, those situations, dudes got busted immediately. Because you can't front. You got 20,000 people up there. How are you going to front that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to tell them everything come, I got to slow down with that. But all I'm just saying is you should be able to see these things during the fight. Okay? More investigations would be closed if you have video. You see, you got video.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
We don't have to speculate. We're looking right at you. we don't have to speculate. We don't have to delve into anything else. We know we saw what you did.
So how frustrating is it for you as someone who in the flesh, you live boxing, you see boxing, and then you have fight after fight after fight, more and more people who they built the sport. I mean, you can't have boxing without the fans. So
it's two different types of fans. This is where I'm learning to get over it.
Okay. This is how you learn to get over it.
This is where I'm learning to get over it. There's maybe three different types of fans. There's the actual ticket buying fans who will get on a plane, fly across the world to go see a fight. I've met those fans. American, British, French, German, Asia. You have people getting on a plane to go see their fight. Put money down. You have that fan that's now with streaming.
Well, you mean illegally streaming?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Now, and then you have your subscribers. Then you have social media fans.
Right. Right.
They're the ones that you have to separate from the real boxing fans. Some of the logic used in social media it's mind blowing.
So you think that's what I'm saying? I mean, that kills the sport. If you speak,
I'm learning that the people who are really involved in the sport, they don't pay them no attention.
Really?
I mean, I know there is a big social media or YouTube crowd that think they have some kind of influence on what goes on, Yeah, okay. I'll just say that.
Right.
Yeah.
I know you feel sorry for referees from time to time. Okay. Where situations occurs like that, where, just maybe outside elements or something happens that he didn't expect, or maybe he called something right, but the whole world doesn't think that he did or she did. And one huge example, in my opinion, is ShowBizz versus Meldrick Taylor. How, you know, the fight was stopped by Richard Steele, I believe, with maybe 3 to 4 seconds or 2 seconds, something like that. But if you look at Meldrick Taylor now, you know, the effects of boxing. Right. So do you think that was a good stoppage? Did that make sense for Richard Steele?
That one is still because I was told by a great referee, Frank Cappuccino. He did the Gotti Ward fight. Now, only Frank Cappuccino can do certain things.
Man, that fight could have been stopped a few times, brother.
Every referee that I know stops that fight. Yeah. But Frank Cappuccino was a unique, old school. He had so much experience. He's the only referee I've ever seen stand in the corner literally a whole round.
Yeah, he's just out the way.
No, he was just annoyed. He explained to me when I said, I thought that was, you know, I was a young referee, and I got his ear and we're talking. And I said, well, you know, he says, no, man, what you do is, he says, you pause a little bit. You got to know where you are in the fight. You pause a little bit, and you kind of time that. Now, with Richard, like he said to me, I'm looking at the course of the rounds, what Chavez put on. And now that I've been in close to that type of scene, you call what you got to call.
Right. Because
obviously you cannot be in this trade if you're worrying about what somebody's going to say.
Well, that goes back to your experience when you're talking about
exactly
getting the time in.
I'll give you a fight where a title changed hands. I won't tell you the fight. I'll just tell you the second fight, it changed hands again, and I'll let y'all figure it out. And it was controversial. But there was a decision in the first fight. And I asked the governing body supervisor, did he retain? He says, no. I'm like, get ready.
Oh, I think I know you're
Get ready. He says, what? I said, you're in New York, man. Get ready.
Yep.
And I held them hands.
Yeah.
And a lot of people misinterpret me during decisions. I'm more or less like, hold on.
Because here it comes. Here it comes, yeah.
And he's either going to have a James Butler reaction and swing on me or swing on somebody.
Right.
That's why I hold them hands real tight.
Right. I know exactly.
And I tell them like, don't do it.
You guys.
Whatever how this go down, don't do it, please.
This community, you must know which fight he's talking about, or series of fights. You must know what he's talking about. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Well, I want to ask you about this. This. Just following up, I think this is a good segue when we were talking about, what happened with Meldrick Taylor. What happened with Meldrick Taylor after the Chavez fight? He didn't even look, he didn't look good in a rematch. We had many deaths in the ring. Last year, we had 4? I mean, that I can count, right? I mean, maybe more than that. But you said something that was extremely interesting one time on your Instagram. You said that referees were unaware of whatever injuries occurred during sparring. Many boxers stepped into the ring, and I immediately thought about Anthony Joshua, right? I immediately thought about, everyone saying that Anthony Joshua was knocked out in sparring or something like that. These fighters could have been injured in sparring. It could have been something before the fight. Nothing that necessarily happened. If you look at Max Dadashev, rest in peace to Dadashev, nothing really happened in the course of that fight where you say, hey, the ref should have stopped it there. But really, the damage could have happened before the fight. Can you speak on that a little bit as far as?
Yeah, I got to be careful with that because I went too far with that one. But
okay.
No one's ever themselves when the game starts. Many times I have not myself. Okay?
Right.
You go in there with things. It might mean little ticky-tack, little knick-knack injuries. You might have a bad toe. You might have tendonitis in your elbow.
Right.
You might have tendonitis in your knees. You might have, in some cases, developing arthritis. In some cases, you could have post-traumatic from a concussion. You could have a concussion, never even knew you had a concussion. I saw a lot of that in the amateurs. Guys who boxing in tournament format, you're boxing all week. You've had three fights doing three hard fights during the course of the tournament. You gotta figure the science is proven. After 3 of those bouts, you're going to a gold medal round or a championship round, and they're banging. You know what I mean? There's eventually you're going to have some kind of fatigue, some kind of physical fatigue.
Yeah. No. You invited me out.
The IBF convention.
Was that?
The IBF convention.
Yes, that's right. And what that did for me was it made me. I mean, it was before that the pandemic and stuff like that. But what that did for me was it made me just say, man, I think as far as it being a boxing analyst, even on YouTube or whatever, the opportunity to be educated on what you're speaking on, okay? And to want to learn more. I definitely appreciate you for inviting me. But do you think that should be some kind of prereq for any analyst to think that they can speak on the sport?
Well, see, now you're going back to one of my problems. With the YouTube crowd, with the social media crowd, even with the legitimate media, mainstream media, whatever you want to call it. These people don't come to seminars.
Right.
This is our basic thing there. They never show up and, okay, let's put it like this. I always ask the question, how do you qualify yourself to be an expert on boxing? How do you qualify yourself? Because you have viewers, you have a platform. You know what I mean? There's so many YouTube channels out there. There's so many social media people out there. If I just listen to what they say and I turn them off.
Yeah.
Okay, you were one of the exceptions where I was like, okay, this guy's actually trying to say legitimate things here. I mean, you get on your fan stuff.
Right.
I mean, you have to entertain. You have to entertain that. I understand.
Right.
But like when you touch on Glovegate, when you touch on hot situations, it's like any reporting or any media, if you want to call it that. You should have actual facts and substance of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't get up there and say because you watch boxing since you've been watching Tyson. That doesn't qualify you to be. And there's too many people with microphones in their hand that are not qualified to be speaking on boxing. And one of the ongoing problems, when you say what's bad for boxing, is the fans or the public gets their information from these people who do not know what they're talking.
You spoke about the standing 8 count, and that is no longer there. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Removing the standing 8 count, isn't that?
You have to understand what the purpose is of the standing 8 count.
Okay.
And why it doesn't work in professional boxing. What is the point? What is the purpose of concluding a professional prize fight? To knock your opponent out, right?
Right.
As medieval as it sounds, when you give a standing 8 count, you now take the advantage away from the guy who's trying to finish the opponent.
Yep.
You have guys who train to finish their opponent.
Right.
One can calculate, because I remember from my amateur days, you can calculate a standing 8 count. You say, man, it's about 15 seconds to give him a break.
That's the difference between a count and seconds. That's the difference between a count. A lot of people will see a guy knocked down. They count to 10, right? And say, hey, he was down for 10 seconds. They cheated. No. He has to be down for the count of 10. That's the difference. So like you said, standing 8 count could be 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Right? I've seen it done. Guys just killed the clock. You're allowing this guy to recover.
Yeah.
And just think of some of the most prominent fights if that had occurred. Now you're giving these people extra to argue about.
Yeah, and it may be even more dangerous than just getting knocked out.
Because you're making this guy take more sustained punishment.
Yep.
Because say that he keeps going down, instinctively taking a knee or whatever like that.
Yep.
He could be in a concussive state. He could be bleeding on the brain. And now we done giving him 2 different standing 8 counts in 4 different rounds.
Yeah, that's not going to.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're harming this guy. You're not saving him.
Because in a professional fight, that's conceivable.
Right. Let's talk about, you had a video about shoulders, using your shoulders, but not illegally.
Mm-hmm.
Using your head, but when do you call it? When you think of Evander Holyfield versus Iron Mike Tyson,
mm-hmm.
and they say, hey, man, Evander Holyfield was headbutting. Was he? Or was he putting himself in a position where it was a good tactic, but he wasn't actually doing something illegal?
Well, it's a very touchy, fine line thing with headbutts. You have to tell them, protect your head coming forward because your heads might come together. Now, what I'm looking for is the advantage disadvantage. This is something I learned from basketball officiating.
Right.
Advantage to disadvantage. And what I mean by advantage disadvantage is just because you're running into his head doesn't mean he's using it.
Facts. Now, in that tone, then when you talk about fair play, I have to think about Floyd Mayweather versus Ortiz. And you remember Ortiz was headbutting Floyd. He hit him in the mouth with the top of his head, right? And then I guess Ortiz wanted to hug or something like that. And when they broke, I mean, the fight was on and Floyd knocked out Ortiz with a left hook. Now, in that situation, there were many fans who called foul, said that was wrong, said it was a cheap shot. What say you about something like that where, hey, look, you wanted to hug, you apologize, I already accept your apology, and his guard was down, but he hooked him. What say you about a situation like that? That can be gray or maybe foggy.
You just headbutted me twice between my eyes.
Yeah.
I can't expect him to be cool with you in a fight. He gonna get you first chance he get. That's anybody. First chance you get. All right, it's like that. It's like anything. It's like that. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep apologizing. You're looking right at me. Now, how that played out, like, you know, what cracks me up is people say, "Oh, it was a cheap shot." I said, yeah, but what causes that? You can't say this is bad when there's a cause and effect for everything. It's the same like any other fight. You see guys retaliate on a situation, you know, or do something. The same thing like with Mike. Mike bit him because he felt, you know, nothing was being done.
And so in that situation, maybe things could have.
He's not the only one, I'm sure, that felt that way against fighting Holyfield.
Oh, yeah. Look at Rockman's eye. You saw Rockman. Rockman's forehead. He had a shadow casted off his butt.
He had a shadow? He had a shadow?
He had a shadow.
Had a tarp on it. It had a tarp. People were lunching underneath.
Yeah.
They were doing outdoor dining.
So
kick my ass when you see me for this.
But no, to your point, maybe something could have been done where it could have been.
No, look at it this way. You're in a fight. You're in a fight. And as a referee, you got to know, it's like, okay, we train now, at least I try to tell guys, you get a guy who's hurt with a big ego, about to lose all his money, he gonna do some desperate stuff.
Right.
He gonna do some desperate. People do desperate when the time calls. People do desperate things. You have to expect that.
So it's not as an official. It's not just calling the fouls, but knowing which foul to call and knowing how to have the fight go in a way where you're managing a fight.
You're managing the fight. That's the term I use. You referee in the amateurs. Professional game, in every sport, you manage the game.
Yeah.
Game management.
Yeah.
There's a term they have in basketball officiating camps, game management. What is your game management skills? Same thing in the ring, your ring management.
Look, thanks for showing up, Steve Willis. It was great. I would love to invite you back to the show, man, because you have a lot of knowledge, and I hope that our community learned a lot from what you were saying here today. Is there anything else you want to? Is there anything you want to say before a couple shout outs?
Stop watching me watch the fight.
100.
That's my catchphrase. Watch the fight. Stop watching me. Nobody paid to watch a referee.
That's going to be hard to do, but I feel you. ShowBizz, little dope. Thank you so much, Steve. See you. I'm out.